Hey, how are you doing? I decided to just go live because I'm a perfectionist and I have recorded this 4 times starting this morning. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Let me just go on and talk about what I wanted to talk about. So I'm Marshall Weeks and went to the library earlier this year. I had to meet someone there for work. And after the meeting was over, I walked over into the kids section. I always like to go. I frequent the library for meetings, and so probably about once, twice a month. And so I always go into the children's section to see, what do they have over there? Anything that stands out to bring home. The kids. It's hilarious how You have to kind of make them read a little bit, but they're always excited to go in the library and to get the books, but don't want to read them. But anyway, found this book sitting on the shelf. Now, this is not a library book. It was like a little guide, a booklet. And I remember picking up two because it was probably a stack, about 10. Picked up two, went over to the desk, and I asked the lady, I said, hello, do I have to pay for these books? And she's like, oh, no. She's like, and where did you find that? I'm like, it was just sitting on the shelf. And she kind of looked at it and she's like, I don't even know what this is, but this looks good. She's like, but no, you feel free to take it. It's not for sale. So I was excited because it's some good stuff in here. And this is it. Like it's little worksheets and different things, right? So I put it on the dining room table and there it sat for a few months because I wanted to take the time to go through it first and then trying to figure out when will I be able to show the kids this book and go through it with them. So we are on summer break now. Georgia, we got out like the end of May. And so I am labeling this Gen X summer. Now, Generation X, I'm a Generation X person. Those of us who were Generation X kids, we know what our summers were like, right? So my kids aren't going to get extreme Gen X, right? Because here in Georgia, if they were to stay outside all day, they probably would have a heat stroke. But Gen X summer meaning like we're learning things. We're learning how to clean up and mop floors and wash dishes. We started the boy on silverware 2 days ago and the saucers. And so they're not allowed to get on the screens until way after 2. I really want to push it down to 3:30 because I think we're doing so well. So no TV, no tablets, no laptops. What do they do with their time? They actually play with their toys. I'm like, I don't know why we keep buying this stuff because they're never playing with them. So they're using their imaginations, they're drawing, they're coloring, they're making up stuff, they're making forts. They are experiencing half a day of Gen X summer. They have chores and different things they have to do. They have to read books. Daniel is finishing up his chapter book on John Lewis. He is so excited about the different people. Now, I do allow him to use the Google to say, hey, Google, who is, because that's a part of his research as he's reading the book. And he gets excited about John Lewis and what John Lewis did and what he was doing as a little boy. I think that's awesome. But also a part of Gen X Summer is we're going to learn about money. Now, I am signing the kids up. How many of you have heard about this website called Outschool, outschool.com? That's the only other time before the screens turn on. We have an app that we control their electronics from the phone. Their Outschool course. Go to outschool.com. This is for toddlers all up to high school. They have classes on entrepreneurship, finance. They have projects like teaching the kid how to start a business, all types of drawing, social clubs like politics and dinosaurs and Canva, coding, programming, dancing. When I say anything you want to learn, outschool.com. So both of the kids are taking math. Olivia's taking a finance course. Daniel's taking a drawing course. He likes anime. So other than that, no screens until later on in the afternoon. We're going to talk about money with this book. We're talking about money this summer. So the first 2 pages of this book is talking about benefit, cost, choice, consequence, and scarcity. And like I said, this is amazing little booklet. It's on their level. So we talked about benefit, what you gain when you make a choice, the cost, what you give up when you make a choice. Choice, one of the several options you pick. Consequence, what happens as a result of your choice, good or bad. Scarcity, we only touched on that because it's talked about in the book. To me, the idea that resources are limited, that's a choice. Because remember, our jobs pay the position. Income is up to the individual. So that is what I'm teaching my kids. Like, you can make as much money as you want to make. It's all about your choices, what you want to do. So isn't this amazing to start them out in learning about money? Choices, because us as adults, we have to be aware of our choices. So like when we bring the payroll check home or direct deposit, we have to make choices on what we're going to purchase. And then after we've taken care of those needs, discretionary income, now what do I do with this? How much do I invest? How much do we save? And we all know that when we do not choose to invest and save our money, what is the consequence? Retiring without dignity, working until you're almost 80 years old, not having the money to do the things that you really want to do, and then settling for a life that you may not want. And sometimes because of choices, we convince ourselves that there is scarcity when there is not scarcity, right? We have all the time to do the things that we want. We have to make use of our time. So this is what we are starting out on in teaching the kids about money. Choices, consequence. Here is one of the things that we touched upon because the book has questions. So on one of the pages it reads, let's talk about it. Name one choice that you made today. What were the costs and the benefits of that choice? And they have to write it down. So we had a little discussion, and I did, one kid at a time, because, I wanted to be kind of like a one-on-one conversation. I want them to feel comfortable, asking questions and getting their answers. You know how siblings are. We can be a little bit competitive. So talk to Olivia in the beginning of the day, then talk to Daniel later on. So I reminded Olivia of the school year. Now, Miss Olivia wanted to do a solo 2 years ago. She went into the studio on her own and she asked to do a solo. What did that mean? That meant that she would not just have 2 days of dance practice, she would have 3. So she's in her 4th year. She's committed, right? The family is committed. Being a dance parent, that is a family obligation. It isn't just the kid, right? We had dates booked last year for this year, and literally everything is on hold until we get that schedule. We're committed, right? So I remember this year, and I reminded her in our conversation about our choices. I said, do you remember how after school, there were certain days the school would have these different events like STEAM night, family night, this night or whatever. And I said, how I tell you all at the beginning of the school year, you can miss one practice, right? You get off for one. And I said, remember how you had already taken your day off? And she said, yes. And I said, and remember the school had something. And she's like, Mom, I really want to go to the STEAM night because, she was like, they told us this was going to happen and that was going to happen. And I said, okay, I'm going to let you go to the STEAM. But remember, you're an athlete, you're a competitive dancer, you are part of a team, and you have a solo. So you got to think about it. Now, this particular STEAM night was the week of competition. And anybody who knows, who has participated in anything, whether you were an athlete or whatever the case, and when you had a big event that weekend, you don't miss practice. And I looked at her and I said, Olivia, you cannot miss practice. Competition is Saturday. I said, you have a team. Miss Debbie has set those lines. And look, that's something that I learned because I was not a dancer. She set the lines. You got to be there. Your team is depending on you. She boohooed and she cried, but she went on to practice. So I asked her, do you remember that? She said, yes. I said, I want you to tell me what were the benefits of you going to practice. And she said, well, I learned. And she said, I learned the new dances. I said, now what else? She's like, well, I did really well at competition. I said, what else? She said, I can't remember what else. Oh, she won the trophy. I said, yes. And I said, and did you see at recital how you got to dance on the stage with the big kids? And she said, yes. I said, now, what was the cost? What did you give up to go to practice? And she said, well, I didn't get to go to STEAM night. I wasn't able to go with my friends. I said, but to do it all again, would you choose to go to the STEAM night or would you go to practice? And she said, I would go to practice. We look, the light bulbs on, right? Daniel, he comes in the afternoon. I get him to read both pages. And like I said, this is meant for a kid. You can see the font, you can see the size. It really, really, really cool book. I say to Daniel, on Saturday mornings, I'm gonna tell you, my son hates everything until he gets there. He doesn't want to do anything. If I let my son sit on the sofa with the tablet and a bag of chips, he'd be there all day. He would get up to go to the bathroom and come right back. You got to know your kids, right? Brilliant little person, but does not want to do anything. He wanted to play flag football. The idea of it was amazing, but you got to run and you got to practice, right? So on Saturdays, this particular program we did, they practice before the game. His dad would take him out. He would put up a protest every Saturday morning. I mean, you can almost like, all right, 3, 2, 1, let's watch him complain. I don't want to go. I'm tired. I want to sleep in. Why do I have to do something every day? What are you talking about every day? You don't do anything every day anyway. I have 2 things. Why do I have 2 things? Olivia only has 1 thing. I said, yeah, she has 1 thing. She has dances 3 days a week. You have 2 things, but it's just twice a week. You don't have a lot of things. Gets out there to football, has a blast, has a ball, loves it, made some friends, whatever. I asked him, Daniel, what are the benefits of you going to practice? He says, I made a friend. I said, what else? And so he's thinking, I got to play. I said, what did you get at the end of the season when they gave out the awards? He said, I got a trophy. I said, now, what did you give up? And he kind of looked at me. And so, we read it again. What you gain when you make what you give up when you make a choice. I said, what was the cost, or what did you give up? And he says, well, I kind of like to sleep in, but if I had slept in, I wouldn't have been able to go to practice. I said, good. I said, and what if we had to just let you stay at home and never go to practice? And he was like, well, I wouldn't have got a trophy and I wouldn't have learned. Exactly. So the light bulb is on. So again, teaching the kids about money and teaching them this, right? So it's like we all, even as adults, again, like I said earlier on, we have to make choices. There's always going to be a sacrifice to go forward. If we don't make the sacrifices to invest our money now, there isn't going to be any when we're older, right? If we don't make the choices, like think about it. Some of us have been in the same careers for 20 some plus years, and we're kind of at a crossroads for some of us, right? I've stood at this crossroads several times, in my life. And it's like, okay, something has to give, something has to change. Am I passionate about this, or am I just here for a check? Is there something that I can do to improve myself so that I can really step my game up, step the lifestyle up? Or have I talked myself into believing in scarcity, that I'm not supposed to have a certain thing? Or am I looking more at what do I need to give up in order to get some more benefits? Because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to cost and benefit. It comes down to, what are the consequences? Will my benefits outweigh the cost, or am I willing to stand on the train track and wait for the train to come up close, light in my eyes, retirement staring at me. I have no money saved. I've not invested. I'm getting older. I have no life insurance. I've not learned, I've not done any of the things. I'm not going for the promotions. I'm not, I'm not doing anything to increase my life at all. And then financially is a result of that, right? So this to me, this little booklet that I found in the local library that's highly underestimated. The local libraries are so forgotten about. We need to go back to the library. Like I said, OutSchool is a wonderful website where you can go. They have finance classes. They teach about money. Even though I'm a money person, sometimes it takes a village and your kids may not receive everything from you. And I'm one of these people, as long as they understand, I can piggyback, right? The ministry of piggyback. If some teacher, aunt, uncle, neighbor teaches my kid a thing, or they've said a thing that I've said, and Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, coach so-and-so said it, and the light bulb went off, praise God, right? They got it. It isn't about me. Did they get it? So I'm utilizing outschool.com and these little books to have these little conversations. The kids reading these 2 little pages, our little meeting, I called it, was less than 15 minutes. And it's like little nuggets we're dropping. Why? Some of us are just learning about money as adults, grown adults. And once you get to a certain part, it's hard to break habits, right? But if we teach the kids and set a standard while they're young, set the standard now so that when they get 16, they're not spending their whole check on like a Gucci belt. They're not wanting to do what the other kids do. You know what I mean? Because there's some crazy stuff out here, right? Which is another reason why we have to decrease the screen usage, because they're really looking at some stupid, ignorant stuff. And it looks good and it's popular. I would even say so for adults. We got to cut some of that stuff out because it's stupid, or the people that we're listening to because they're popular, we're only listening to them because they're popular, but they don't know what they're talking about. You're a singer. Stay in your lane. Let the professionals do what the professionals do. Stop giving out advice you're not certified, licensed, degreed, and didn't even do it yourself. Somebody else told you and you didn't created a whole masterclass. And anyway, it is very important for us to do it now. Learn the things we need to learn. Sacrifice the time. We have to look at, is it worth staying up a couple of nights like me? Was it worth me staying up some nights to get licensed in financial services? Was it worth me staying up to get this certification and that certification? Is it worth going through different trainings, listening to different mentors, doing self-study, reading this article, reading that article? Is it worth it? Does my benefit outweigh the cost? And I would say yes. So I said a lot and I told like 3 different stories at once. That's just what I do. However, it all works together. It all comes together. I found a great resource to help me establish a standard with my kids. I don't want to teach them money when they're just starting a job. I want them to already be in the mindset, and I want it to be, settled in their spirit so that when they're my age, it's not going to be a big deal, right? They're going to understand. They're going to have investments and savings and have their financial portfolios in place, because that is something that you start young, right? When we're starting it, when we're older, that's kind of late. It's never too late. But if we can do it ahead of time, and if we can pay it forward for the next generation to come, it's like we've planted some new seeds, and we can believe in faith for the harvest to come, because we made choices, not only for our children, but it's like, don't forget about yourself. Does the benefits outweigh the cost of you making the improvements in your money now, making the improvements in your personal and professional life to benefit later? And that's all I have. You all have a great day.